Welcome to Your Best Life podcast, where we help you discover your calling so you can live with purpose and clarity. We're Pete and Julie Morrill, your guides, mentors, and lifelong adventurers, and we're here to help you find your true north.
Well, here we are again. We've got another coaching session, and this time it's with a 26-year-old gentleman who grew up with my daughter in high school. He has finished college. He's gone on he went to the Ukraine, which is pretty
During the war.
Yeah, pretty dramatic experience for him. He's worked in a couple nonprofits, one where they work in to rehab young men. And Ben has got a lot of questions, but the main question is, I want to have my compass really well fixed during this time of transition, and what am I transitioning to? But you want to talk about a friend of yours who is also a relative of Ben's. Why don't you do that now?
So Ben's parents are very good friends of ours, longtime friends. They were in our Bible study. They went to the same church. They helped at the camp that Pete ran for many years. I mean,
Ben's dad, Jim, was involved with hiring me. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, I did know that. So that we have a long time history with Ben's parents. And his mom, Katie, is on our nonprofit organization board, so True North Quest's board.
This is Pete and Julie, True North Quest. We're with Ben. We're in his very first session of him trying to find his life calling. And one of the things that we say is there's three big questions. Who are you is the first question. And Ben, we have asked you to do your life story, right? Basically,
That's right.
Kind of do chapters. Give me three things when we're coaching you that you're hoping in after 6 sessions that we might accomplish for you.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I think three things, if I could identify them, would be just what strengths do I have? Where should I apply them?
Mm-hmm.
I think the second thing is maybe in what areas do I thrive in, whether it's with people my age or if it's with a different demographic. And maybe the third thing is just kind of having that kind of oneness with God, I would say, and being able to hear from him a little bit better.
Good.
That would
be
the three.
Is there a life transition or a life chapter that you're in now that you feel like this is calling me to get better direction?
Absolutely. I would say that just to preface, I graduated college not that long ago. And yeah, I feel like I've just gone through a bit of a doubt season. And I'm kind of trying to piece back together what exactly my focus should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I do feel a little bit like looking through sort of a dirty glass. Like there are some things that I can see that make sense, and there are some things that I know that I have strengths in, but I'm trying to understand better, how do I apply that, and how, in what direction should I go, knowing that I have these various strengths.
Yeah. It would be helpful for people to know you're 26.
That's right.
You've been through 6 or 7 years of college.
That's right.
And you've got your bachelor's of science in probably biology.
Biology, yep.
And you've been involved with a couple different ministries where you've been challenged to give sometimes to troubled, or let's say men that made bad choices in their first chapters or first couple chapters,
right?
As well as a Christian camp, and so you've had a kind of a
Yeah.
diverse experience. You've been
Yeah.
on a swim team. You've done a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff that normal college kids.
Yeah. I've led worship as well. Yeah.
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 How would you feel differently if you had a strong sense of this is what I'm called to do?
I mean, I would feel more confident. I wouldn't be as doubtful.
What do you doubt right now? What do you doubt? What are the doubts that come in?
I doubt the just um, like I think I know some of the things I'm good at, but I'm not too sure. Right now, I'm sort of heading in a direction teaching and
Mm-hmm.
working with kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I've always said I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
but now that the time has come, it's like, oh, like, is this actually
Mm-hmm.
the right thing to be doing?
Yeah.
Um, I'm a very active person. I love
Mhm.
to be outside. Being in the classroom is great, but it's like I would love to have a diverse ability to be outside and inside. And it's like, I don't know if the direction I'm going right now suits that
Mhm.
entirely. There is a second part of me that's like, I feel like God is leading me towards something. And I know that that isn't always easy. It's
Mhm.
not always
Mm.
what you want.
Mhm.
And so I'm hoping to get some better clarity as to what these feelings mean, um, where the doubts are coming from,
Mhm.
and yeah, just how do I mesh that together, and how do I move forward in a productive way?
Well, let me give you some good news and some bad news.
Okay.
So we're on a backpacking trip, and we come to a fork in the road, but it's literally a fork. There's 3 avenues that you could go down. We're not going to give you a map that tells you go to this fork or go to this fork.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a compass.
Okay.
So the difference between a map and a compass is a map prescribes where you go,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the destination it's going to take you. A compass says you should go in this direction because it's going to take you where you want to go.
Yeah.
You're at a point where you need both.
That's right.
But a compass helps you orient the map
Yeah.
and then say, based on my compass, I think this is the path that makes the most sense right now.
Yeah.
And the compass is an internal clock that says these things are going to be very fulfilling to me. So I need to look for a career.
Yeah.
I need to look for a path that includes these things.
Yeah.
That's the compass.
Okay.
So it's going to be fun because you're at a very different place than some people, but you're at a crucial place where
Mm-hmm.
if you have that compass, it'll be there for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be different paths. You're going to learn this. You already know this to some extent, that every chapter of life offers 2 or 3 different paths on which way to go. And what we would like you to do is get your compass out at that time.
Yeah.
Which that compass is, who has God made me?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he make me that way? Why do I feel so fulfilled when I'm doing this? And how can I make my life where it lives most of the time in the direction that my compass points, which is my true north? So here's a question. There's not a right or wrong answer. We believe that God designed us, right?
Yeah.
So if God designed us and he gave us a particular bent, does God give us one path that is kind of ultimately his will, or are there multiple paths?
I would say that there's multiple. The analogy that I've heard before is kind of like a setting of a parent figure and then a kid on a playground.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid runs out to the playground and the parent's close by watching. And the parent says, okay, you can play on the slide, you can play on the swing set, you can play in the sandbox, but don't go over to the river. The river's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I think of when I think of God and choices. So yes, to answer your question, yes, like I think God there's lots of things that
Mm-hmm.
I could do for a career. And there's lots of things I could do now that could change later.
Yeah.
And I think that's also true. So I do think, yes, like I know multiple different paths
Yeah.
that I can take.
So let's hop onto that analogy a little bit and say you're a kid, you know you're not supposed to go to the river, but you also know you're really good at the monkey bars. You're the best one at the monkey bars.
Yeah.
And we would probably say, okay, if you're in your life calling, you're going to spend more time at the monkey bars than you are on the slide.
Right.
Because the slide gives you no challenge, no exhilaration.
Yeah.
But the slide is great for certain kids.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
But you're a monkey bar.
Yeah.
You know,
monkey. Yeah.
And then occasionally somebody might make even a new structure, and you might say, "Wow, that's monkey bars plus." I think that gives me another challenge. So anyway, maybe we're going a little too far. I think your calling can change, but your compass won't change because it'll always tell you this is who I am. But you might be discovering more parts of who you are.
Yeah.
What part does your faith play in trying to unearth your life calling?
It's everything. I mean, if I can be candid and honest, which I feel like I probably can.
If you can't, then we're probably wasting our time. So yeah.
You know, I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up with amazing Christian parents. And I was not a Christian until I turned 23. I was very stuck in the world. I was doing all the wrong things. I would say God saved me. He pulled me out of the dirt just through a series of events, and took me kind of on this like path to. I went to Ukraine. Directly after that, I went to Michigan, and directly after that, I had a just a weird season of life, and so I feel like I just was like kind of put inside of a ball and just kind of shook up, you know, and it was all these different things going on. And that's not a fault on God. I feel like there were so many things that worked out through that, but it really humbled me for one. And now I'm at the point where it's like faith is what I base everything off of. And that's what I like. If it wasn't for God, like pulling me out of where I was, I don't know what I would be doing. So I try to make that the foundation of all the choices that I make.
And here's one of the things that I would love you to think about is if God created you and he created the passions of your heart, and he created your strengths and abilities, your skills, your personality, all that sort of stuff, doesn't he want us to maximize that?
Yes.
You know?
Well, that's the thing is, like, I think that's where I lack the most direction, if I'm being honest, is and I'm speaking into things that I don't fully understand, but it feels like there are pursuits that I want, and it feels like that's just not where God's leading me, right? So I know that there are desires in my heart that I should not act upon, and that's very obvious. And then there's these desires in my heart that I feel like are good, but it just feels like that's not where God's taking me, you know? So if am being honest, there is this, and I think you can wrestle with doubt and have faith at the same time. I think that's the best way to do it. So there is this doubt. It's like, God, why do I have this desire? But it doesn't seem like that's where you're going to take me. Not sinful. No. They are from people that I've talked to and just from studying the Bible, like they seem to be good things, I guess just to give you one example, I think I kind of outlined this in my homework submission. Story. Yeah. But I recently had sort of these like weird injuries to my body, and they all kind of came from when I was younger, but so yeah, I won't go into details of what all of them are, but I really wanted to pursue, hard work outside, physical labor things. And my doctor's like, look, man, like, you need to take it easy. You need to slow down.
Your brain might want to do that, but your body's not going to let you.
And I'm 26, so I'm like, what's going on here? Like, and so that's an open and honest struggle and
a disappointment, probably.
And a disappointment. So, my thought is, just to wrap up, God, like, this is something that I want. Like, I really want it. And I pray about it, and I say, like, and Ephesians 3 says, like, you can give us more than we ever ask or imagine. You can do more than we could ever think that we deserve, right? But why is it not going that way? Why does it feel like this thing that I want is not happening? It's not materializing in the way that I would like it to.
And the observation that I would make too, all kinds of biblical examples of people whose calling was delayed or it wasn't even realized. You think of Moses, and he was raised in the Egyptian palace to be a leader. And then he made a mistake, and then he spent 40 years
exactly,
in no man's land, basically. And then God,
a bunch of complaining people.
God finally called him into leadership of people that he didn't really want to lead, and so there was, I think his calling was there from the very beginning, but there was a kind of a school of hard knocks. And I think that's the reality, is knowing your compass doesn't always mean that it's going to happen tomorrow. Right. Or going to happen in the chapter that you envisioned it. Necessarily. So in this process, we have 3 big questions. Ask you to memorize them. Can you remember them?
Who am I? What is my calling, and why does it matter?
What difference does it make? Yeah, the same thing. And so in this who am I, we're looking for different layers of who Ben is. And the very first thing is your unique story. Then we're going to look at your emotional grid. Most people would call that your personality. Then we're going to look at your skills and abilities. Then we're going to look at your true heart passion. What are those things that you're just compelled to do? And then we're going to look at selfless gifts. How is this packaged in a way that I can give it away? We were talking about that at dinner. Is a lot of people have to get to a point of maturity before they realize, oh, the whole purpose of my life is so I can give to others. And So anyway, so the majority of what we're going to do tonight is really focused on your story. Right now in my life, I feel like I'm doing about 40% of what I've been called to do at this period in time. And I've had periods of time when I felt like I was doing 80%. And I've had periods of time when I felt like I was doing 10%. But right now, at this moment, I feel like about 40% of what I'm doing kind of is in my strike zone. I feel really comfortable. It really feels like I'm using my talents. Where would you say you're at in that arbitrary measuring stick?
I mean, I would say currently this day, I would say it would be less than probably 30%. Maybe less than that, maybe 25.
So we use this parable. You've heard the parable of the talents in the Bible, right? And there, it was a king, and he had 3 servants, and one of them was given 10 talents, one of them given 5, one of them given 1. Now, it seems like the spotlight goes on the guy that's got 1. He buries it. The king's disgusted with him and says, what? You're worthless. I'm going to give it to one of these guys. But there's another part of that, and that is that there are talents, gifts, strengths, abilities, whatever you want to call them, given to people. Not everybody has the same ones, right?
Right.
And not everybody has the same amount,
Right.
right? Those are the two obvious things you get from that. But the other thing is, the two guys that were faithful, the one guy that had 5 and the guy that had 10,
Yeah.
they doubled it,
Right.
That was pretty impressive in whatever period of time.
Yeah.
They doubled it.
Yeah.
And the reason they doubled it is because they didn't bury it, right?
Yeah.
The other guy buried it.
Right.
One of the things that we're going to try to encourage you to think about is when you say you're doing 30%, I say I'm doing 40%. That means maybe 60%
Yeah.
is somewhat buried. Maybe it's not as deep as the other guy. Maybe it's just under an inch of soil.
Yeah.
For example, I do a lot of preaching and teaching, but I haven't done hardly any for the last year and a half, 2 years, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
That's a talent of mine. People have really told me they really appreciate that, but it's somewhat buried.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we're going to challenge you to do is acknowledge what you have.
Yeah.
Not that everything is going to be unburied tomorrow,
Yeah.
but if you know what you have, then you can kind of be reminded, oh, that thing is, for whatever reason it's buried. Is it my choice to bury it?
Yeah.
Or is it God's?
Right.
Sometimes it is God's. Sometimes he just says, no, you're not in that season. You're not going to use that gift. You get content with that, right?
Yeah.
But other times, and I think more often, they get buried because of neglect. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, Ben, let me give you an example, is I went through this process to be able to teach people like you. I did it for 20 years at Kidder Creek.
Yeah.
And then I said, I really want to just kind of get it to be a process that I can really take people through.
Yeah.
And in that process, I discovered I'm spending way too much time on things that I'm not called to do.
Yeah. Right.
I'm running a business.
Yeah.
And I'm not supposed to run that business. I'm supposed to coach people to run that business because
Yeah.
God has called me to be a guide and a coach and a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And so the business could still exist. I could still own the business, but the difference is my role in the business.
Right.
So it doesn't change where I'm sitting. It doesn't even necessarily change the path. It changes, my compass just says, watch what you're doing.
Yeah.
And
I think of Paul.
Yes.
I think of Paul when you say that.
Right. Why do you think of Paul?
Because
some people won't be as familiar with Paul.
Paul was persecuting and killing Christians for God in his belief, and he had a revelation with Jesus where
pretty radical
Jesus
experience
him,
where he became blind,
and his focus was more or less the same, but now it was directed in a different path. Yeah. So that just came to mind.
Yeah, that's a pretty radical, and that's what we're going to say is when you're life coaching people, some people after us life coaching them, they'll change their direction 5 degrees.
Yeah.
And some people change their direction 180 degrees.
Yeah.
Paul changed his direction.
Yeah.
Right. He was 180 degrees.
Right.
And for me, just as I went through this, I said, it's not that the business is bad. It's just my role, what I see myself doing in the business is not using what God has given me.
Yeah.
And so just a slight orient, maybe it's not such a slight, it's maybe a 90-degree turn from what I was doing. But that's what we're going to try to get you to think about.
Okay.
You looked at the unique call or the things about your life story, right? Mm-hmm. The things that ChatGPT did. I'm seeing that you don't have notes, so maybe we need to copy this off. Would that be helpful to you?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to ask you for the top 3. Do you have a copy of it, Julie? Oh, perfect. Good. So what we did, Ben, is we gave ChatGPT your life story.
Yeah.
And we said, we're trying to coach Ben in terms of finding his life calling.
Yeah.
And then we asked, we want you to make 10 observations. This is the AI gods
Yeah,
out there.
that's
And we
right.
want to make 10 observations about Ben's life calling, or his life story as it relates to his life calling.
Yeah,
And this is what it came up with. Did you read through this
I
list?
did. I did.
And do you feel like it got you?
I think it did.
It's
Yeah,
kind of
I think it
amazing,
kind of
isn't it?
did. I thought you had written this,
No,
so that's
it's
crazy that it was AI.
and that's one of the reasons I like AI.
Yeah,
Is one, because it really goes through a bunch of different things.
right.
But also, if you don't like it, you're not offending me in any way.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
just an arbitrary
It's not on you,
thing.
yeah.
And
Makes
you're not
sense.
really offending anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
Yep.
pretty amazing how it somewhat synthesized that, and then it
Yeah.
kind of follows. It
Yeah.
even mentions things in your life
Yeah.
that is
No,
evidence
crazy.
of that. But here's what I want you to do: is of those 10 things, which are the 3? These are observations about your life that should go into your life calling. Which are the 3 that you think can't be ignored?
Yeah, I would say number 7.
Okay, go ahead and read number 7.
It says Ben has and encourages heart. He consistently finds fulfillment helping others rise, campers, teammates, and struggling men at Rockside. I love being a motivator.
Yep.
I always have. Yeah.
And where have you motivated? So Rockside?
Rockside.
And explain what Rockside is.
Rockside is a life restoration program for
Wow, that's
young
a lot
men.
better way than I've always described it.
It's a life restoration program for young men in Northern California. And it aims to take young men in their teens and 20s, put them through an 8-month program. And then on the backside, it aims to put them back into the workforce.
Make a productive citizen out of them.
Productive citizen. And yes, and it is also faith-based. So their relationship with God is one of the top priorities.
And what were the other examples where you're encouraging?
Let's see. It was campers and teammates.
Yeah. Teammates where?
Teammates. I mean, I've played sports my whole life. So teammates, yeah, just in every sport that I've played, I would say.
So is the encouraging part, is it incredibly natural, or do you have to think, okay, I need to be an encourager?
Incredibly natural.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's evidence of a heart imprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing that you cannot deny in your heart. I've got to be in a place. It doesn't mean it's got to be your job, but if it could be your job, that makes it your job easier, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to be in a place where you're encouraging other people. Is there a certain age or classification of people that you think maybe is a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I love kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and define kids now. That's a big age
kids
too, right?
Is a big group. People would say I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
So kids within probably the age range of,
how many age groups have you actually worked with?
I mean, I've worked with kids that, just learned how to walk, whenever you could say that, to people who are in their 30s and 40s.
And at camp, Kidder Creek, you have the spectrum of primary age, junior high, and senior high. Which group was most gravitating?
Yeah, so I really like the primary age. Okay. I like the littler kids.
Yeah.
That's me, and little kids have the same personality.
Yeah.
And I just love being around high energy kids, and that's what that group brings.
Yeah.
I love watching kids at camp when, they can do hard things, jumping off of rocks, going rafting. Mm-hmm. They have this huge smile on their face, mm-hmm. and that's what I'm all about. I love that stuff.
Cool.
So I would say the younger kids is where I kind of find fulfillment.
What's another one of the 10 that jump out at you?
Let's see. I would say probably number 8. It says that faith anchors his fulfillment.
Okay. And you've talked about this a little bit, but this makes the most joyful, transformative seasons in his life were deeply intertwined with his walk with God. You agree with that? And when
Yes.
were those? So name one or two of those seasons.
So I would say one of the biggest seasons of my whole life was when I went to the Ukraine. I went there in 2022 during the war. And
with a faith-based group or just
that's right, with a faith-based. I went there by myself, but I was with YWAM people.
Okay.
So I was with faith-based people.
Good. You weren't a commando that were.
No, I didn't go rogue. I didn't. Nope, that wasn't me.
Good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So that I had just gotten through a hard season of my life. I had a breakup with somebody in college, and it was kind of my coming to God moment. And at that point, I would consider myself, even though I have said I was a Christian, I would consider that to be my time where I actually was one of my own choice.
Yeah.
And when I went to Ukraine, I prayed to God, I want to see who you are for real. Like, I want to see who you are in the realest setting. And I was like, Ukraine is a real setting. I think I can get.
Can't get more real.
I think I can get. So
real on the negative side of real.
Real on negative. So 100%. That's God delivered. Not to get into all the details, but man, like seeing what war does to people, how it divides, the terror, unspeakable things. We went to many villages where Russians invaded, came in, destroyed everybody's homes, and things I don't really want to talk about. Just terrible, terrible things to people. And I took a step back in that moment, not directly in that moment, but over the course of my stay. And I was like, why do I think my life is about me? I can't believe that that's been my mentality for however long, And so when I read number 8, I would say that was kind of the snowball effect of the next few years that really brought me to a place of putting God at the forefront of my life, and not just like, okay, God, you're a Sunday morning, you're a Tuesday Bible study. Like, no, like you are the paper which my life is written on. You are everything. So that has to be in my top 3.
Okay, well, let's go for number 3.
I would say 5 because it's kind of multifaceted.
Okay.
It says his most fulfilled seasons mix service, community, and nature. It says that was especially visible at Kidder Creek and in Ukraine. That would be my number 3.
Interesting. So when you say mixed service, community, and nature, when it says that, how do you see that interweaving?
I think that, like I said, with my heart, with my motivation, I want to motivate people. That is a service and through community. And man, I love being outside. I just, I love being out in nature. I'm fortunate to have grown up in a very beautiful place, and so that kind of meshes all of my wants into one thing. I think that I am somebody, I think if I can say that I kind of need community, like there are some people who don't, like they get their fulfillment outside of community. And for me, I do need alone time, but at the same time, like if I don't have community, it can tend to go down. Yes, I love to be around people, and I love to be around high energy people, and I think, just service in that sense.
You're an extrovert in that you get energy from being around people?
Yes, I do get energy from being around people. I have a little bit of both, if that's possible. I have introvert where I do need to reset. So yes, I do. I do draw energy when I'm around people, and I draw energy when I'm in service with people. I would say in Ukraine, it was every day, right?
Yeah.
Like it was get up, get after it. We built houses there. You're with people. I mean, people from all over the world. There was people from Australia, people from the U.S. There's people from South Africa that were part of this project, and I felt really, really fulfilled when I was there because we were up early, getting after it, and we were serving the people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So that community service, and we were outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe like outside nature, like could, I love being in the woods, but at the same time, I just like working with my hands. I like being, in the thick of it. I like, I grew up on a farm. I mean, you guys know I grew up on a farm, and yeah, that's just kind of what I did my whole life was work outside. And so that gives me a lot of fulfillment for sure. So when I was deciding to go there, I talked to a bunch of people, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's crazy. Why would you ever do that?" And this is why I really like my family. Well, my dad, because when I told my dad, he was like, "Heck yeah!" He's like, "That sounds like you'll never get another opportunity to do that." He's like, "You need to be doing that right now." And I was like, "Good enough." So then I got on the plane, but yeah, I would say that was the thing.
He does love you, though.
Yeah, he didn't do it to get.
That might be misinterpreted by some people.
No, definitely loves me. He was excited for me. I think one of the things when I was there, and maybe this ties back into what we're talking about, but one of the things when I was there was lots of people who were not, other missionaries were coming to me, and like the guy I was with, and hey, like, how are you doing? Like, are you okay? What can we do for you? And I'm like, man, don't look at me. Like, look at these Ukrainians. I got to go home, like it's not about me. And that's where God really shifted my heart. And do I still struggle with selfishness? Of course, like, it's a fight every day, but I just looking in the eyes of people who have had everything taken from them, families who have been destroyed, they don't have anything. I'm like, it's not about me, So my heart was more like, this is so real. And I really like that. I like real. I like being in that situation where it's like, we're doing this. This is for real, This is like going after God.
It has a real purpose to it, real value.
And there's lots of things that do have real purpose, but that setting in particular, it's like, we're getting up today, could die, like who knows, so it's like we're gonna do it. So I would say the fear was there for sure. I had a few close calls. I had missiles shot at me, saw them fly over, hit buildings. It was pretty crazy, but at the same time, it's like where else would you be? Like if you really want to know who God is, like where else would you be? So that fear was there, but it was kind of masked by this, like, it's not about me.
Sense of purpose.
Yeah, sense of purpose. Yeah, exactly.
So let's look at these 10 factors, and a lot of these are fairly redundant to the observations, but I want you to say, okay, I agree 100%. Pick the top 4 of these factors really are needing to be part of my life calling, no matter what I do or where I'm at.
So the one that stuck out to me right up front was number 1. It says mentorship and encouragement. Like I said.
So which one of those are both? So what's the difference in your mind between mentorship and encouragement?
I think mentorship is more prolonged.
Right.
I would think of that as being
more ongoing,
more ongoing and more personal.
Yep.
I would think of encouragement as more in the moment. So you can mentor somebody and have encouragement involved in that as well. And you can encourage somebody without mentoring them. So I think that one sticks out. Man, these are all good. You're only making me pick 4.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. I would say number 2, working with the youth,
Mm-hmm.
young adults. Honestly, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, 3
So
says,
3 is faith-based service.
yep, and then 4 is physical activity or wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so faith-based service.
So let's talk about your limitation in terms of physical activity.
Yeah,
You mentioned, and I don't know that I know the details of it.
yeah,
So where do you see yourself in terms of physical activity? Because one of the redundant themes
yeah,
is you like to sweat. You like to be,
yeah,
whether it's football or on the farm or at Rockside or in
yeah,
Ukraine, you like to be doing kind of the down and dirty
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So, um, um, was a question like
What limitations do
Yeah,
you have now?
yeah. So, I mean, I would say not a whole lot, which I'm very fortunate. I guess to give sort of background and diagnosis, when I was about 10, I had this kind of weird, rare, I guess you could call it like a deformity that happened. It was in my hip. I was playing baseball and my leg was just flopping out to the side, and everybody's like, "What's up with that kid? Like something's going on." And so my mom took me to the doctor, and I had, I'll remember it forever. It's called a slipped capital femoral epiphysis.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy.
Dislocated hip, is that roughly what it is?
So basically, this, if the camera can see, this is how your hip sits in your socket, right? And mine was starting to do this, right?
okay.
So I'm 10, I'm still developing. Not good, right? Like you can't really have that. So they put it back in place, and then they drilled a screw through it and fixated it. That was that. The doctor said, good to go. No further x-rays, nothing. So over time, that didn't stop it, and it continued to do this weird kind of turn. And the crazy thing is I had no clue for 15 years.
And played sports.
Played sports. So like I said, God bless me. Very, very fortunate to be able to do all those things. But I do have a residual deformity that's inside of there. And it, if you looked out on an x-ray, you'd be like, oh yeah, like there's something wrong with that. Like something's going on with that. So that
causes pain now or not?
So what it does is it makes my right leg shorter than my left by quite a bit. And because I was so young, my whole body, and it's not super noticeable, but it's developed weird. So everything on the right side is out of whack. And on the left, it's a little out of whack. So it's like I have this kind of thing that's going on there. So that's weird. And I had no clue, didn't notice it for, like I said, 15 years. Played football, played basketball, lacrosse, swim team, rowing, soccer, you name it. Like I was a wildland firefighter. Like I did everything, No clue. So no limitations on that. When I was playing basketball in high school, I had a left knee injury where another rare thing. So if, the hip thing was extremely rare. This thing is pretty rare. So it's kind of just all the rarities, So I had a piece of cartilage that broke off inside of my knee playing basketball, like a stress fracture. And I went to the doctor to get looked at. They did an x-ray. They actually went in there, took a piece out, did this stuff. Good to go. Passed me up. Good to go. And then it always felt weird. Like I was a big runner, and I never hurt like bad, but it always felt weird. And there was something inside of there that was like moving around. So as a naive kid, I just was like, whatever, I'm just going to keep getting after it, And just when I got back from Michigan, which at that point I was 24, and I was like, okay, I need to get this thing figured out. And so I went to the doctor, got the x-ray, and he's like, oh, yep, like you got this massive crater of cartilage. It's just missing out of your knee. And he's like, so this seems it was a lot, And that doctor actually had the same thing when he was my age, same age, 17. So I had this when I was 17. And he's like, look, man, like, this is exactly what happened. And there was nothing they could do for it back then, but you get your knee replaced when you're my age, 65. And he's like, I got my knee replaced. He's like, that's what happens. Great. Sounds good. So I got that fixed. And I would say this is kind of a long thing, but the limitations are minimal. But I am, for a season of life and even continuing to now, I had a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen, like not only, like I remember, right before I was going to get my knee worked on, I'm laying in bed, like not sleeping, obviously. And I just figured out about the hip thing. And I just remember I'm like, to God, I'm just like, it's too much, It's just, it's too much. But then I remember also having a thought of like, if this is what it takes to follow you, like, this is what I'll do, And so, I just went through a huge season of this sucks, like everything. That's where I'm saying with that doubt stuff, like everything that I felt like I wanted to do, like the doctor's like, long distance running, nope, be careful, be careful, don't wear that thing out. I'm like, yeah, I do miss running. Yeah, I really loved it, and it's like, careful, basketball, careful, soccer, careful, all these things that you kind of did. It's like, be careful, So it's not, can I do it? Yes, I could go run 20 miles right now if I wanted to. It's, you better not, And that is more troubling to me than like if the leg was just cut off, because then I know for sure I can't, But it's like, I could, but I can't. And when's it going to go bad? And what, and it's so weird because it's so rare. And so it's just, but you look normal, like everything seems to be okay, but it's like, it's not, like things are weird. So there's this underlying kind of anxiety, I would say, from that, that's honestly more crippling than the actual problems.
So it's given you 6 possible life calling statements. This is very early on, right? So it's all it's done is looked at your life story.
Yep.
But do any of these resonate in a way that says, wow, that's pretty close? Or is there one or two that you'd say, boy, I like this part of 1 and I like this part of 6 or whatever?
Yeah. Oh, in the back.
You're looking at the 6 possible life calling statements, right?
Yep. Number 3.
Okay.
Creating life-changing experiences for youth through Christ-centered community and challenge. I really like, when I was doing the high school youth, I really liked that. That was a lot of fun. Like I said, I like energy, I like high energy. And I like that, like a Christ-centered community. And obviously with the youth as well. So I think, these are all good, but like, man, like number 3 would definitely be, life-changing experiences, Christ-centered community, I think. And then it says, and challenge.
That's the closest to your sweet spot you feel like right now. I think you're best to focus in on, who is God saying that I am? What are those 10 talents? Which ones am I really using?
Yeah.
And which ones are kind of dormant?
Right.
And how can I start investing to take them out of dormancy if I'm supposed to? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So career path is perhaps a last chapter of what we're going through. But I think if you get too premature with that, you rule things in or out until you're convinced of that really is where my compass is pointed. So I think we've got to take a breath and say, the point is to get through a process that reveals who we've been, at the very essence. And what is interesting is it only knows 1/5 of what we're going to explore, and it's already pretty much getting
It's
you.
getting there.
It's getting you.
It's getting there for
Yeah.
sure.
So is this something that you want to continue to do?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So chapter 2 is understanding your personality as it relates to your life calling. But the more you understand your personality, the better you will be able to navigate through life. You've heard of people that are relationally wise, right? Those are people that socially know how they come across.
Yeah.
Who are the people that they enjoy being with, and who are the people that, okay, that's not my type of person, but I can relate to them.
Right.
We used to take all of the Kidder Creek staff through the DISC test so we could see, okay, these people, they're rah, we call them otters. They're rah people.
Yeah.
And these people are horses. Oh, they're the faithful, steady, deep friendships, those kind of people. And these people, I fit into this category. Eagles, they like to see the big picture, and they like to kind of make command decisions and that sort of stuff. And these people are beavers. They like to work on the details and make sure everything is kind of in order and correct and all that sort of stuff. That's all helpful as you go through life. And just become a student of yourself for not just the benefit of knowing your life calling, but the benefit of being a better Ben in almost every circumstance, right? Socially aware people can influence people a lot better than socially unaware people. Right? It's just a part of reality, right? You're always aware of, oh, that person just connects with everybody here in a very unique way, and they give them themselves, right? And that's a lot of who you are. And so the more you know, okay, this is my personality, and I know I'm always gonna be challenged by this type of personality. I'm always going to resonate. I always found I'm an eagle, and I always found that if I worked really closely with beavers, my life was better.
Right.
Because I like to see the big picture. They like to look at the little details. And both of those are necessary in almost every situation. Right. And then I always recruited otters. Because I'm not that. You're probably more of an otter. Well, and in my youth ministry staff, I would say even more so there, is the otters are the ones that you just throw out and you guys go have fun with the kids and all of that stuff. And then I would be having deeper conversations strategically. How are we doing? What's this? How this is going. So it's just really helpful to know, oh, first of all, not everybody sees the world the same way I do. And then secondly, okay, this is the way I see the world. Oh, this is how that is perceived by other people and that sort of stuff. You can have the exact same career as somebody else and approach that career completely differently based on your strengths, right? And that's good. But you're also going to know, if I am in this career and this is my strength, almost every strength has a corresponding weakness.
Exactly.
And so to know that weakness is just as valuable as knowing the strength, because it's the weakness that's going to get you in more trouble. The strength is going to get you a lot of applause. The weakness is going to be your
downfall.
So I guess what I'm saying is, this is a tool. We're going to use this tool a little bit in this. This is a tool that you'll have. It's going to be the two biggest layers are your life story and your personality. Okay. Then we're going to ask skills and abilities. Well, some of those are going to be pretty obvious. But skills and abilities, there are some very unique things. Probably how to brand a calf, or doing some things that are just going to show up that are random, but are also okay. That's an interesting skill or ability. So here's what I'm going to tell you is, at the end, I'm going to be telling you confidently, this is who God made you. Now you got to decide what to do with that. So get close to God. In the next 6 weeks or however long we take in this process, because God's going to ask you, okay, how much do you want to align with who I made you? and he's going to call you, I think, specifically to some things.
Yeah.
It might be just saying, I want you to explore, I want you to lean into, or I want you to, and I'm going to try to then give you wisdom that says this and this and this are things that you really need to invest in for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Now figure out how to do that, which with whatever career path you choose or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're gonna, like Julie, she can't help but share, okay, you got to think about this, or you got to think about this, and this program is going to do that as well. That's okay.
Yeah.
So keep looking at all the smorgasbord. Generally, I always told Kidder Creek people this: your problem is not that you don't have enough choices; you got too many choices.
Yeah.
And
right.
In reality, an American young person,
very true.
Too many choices is almost as paralyzing or more paralyzing than not enough choices, right?
Yeah.
You go to the military, they tell you, okay, you're good at this, you're going to do this for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah. You just go do it.
You don't have to.
Exactly.
You don't have to think about it. You just say, I don't have any decisions.
Yeah.
But when you're not going in that kind of, then you've got to start saying, why am I making these choices? That's what the compass is about. It's going to help you, guide you through those choices. So,
right.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, our producer took off on us, so
okay.
I guess
that's it.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
We want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Today's episode of Your Best Life was brought to you by True North Quests, helping you discover your calling so you can live a life filled with purpose. Find out more at tnadventures.org, where you can book an appointment with a calling coach, learn about upcoming True North Quest workshops, and more. And by Marble Mountain Kennels, where exceptional Labrador retrievers are bred and trained for adventure, companionship, and service. Visit mmkennels.com to meet your new best canine friend. And by Julie's Creative Classroom, providing fun educational games and digital products for students in Julie's online Creative Classroom TPT Teachers Pay Teachers store. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, remember your best life starts with knowing your calling and finding your true north.